Hello everyone and welcome back to the garden. We are setting up this video to be another one of our kind of huge flower tour videos. In this one we are taking a look at all of the ranunculus in the ranunculus bed that you see here in my hoop house. And man oh man, there are a lot of ranunculus in here. Much like the daffodils this year, I kind of just bought a few corms of a whole bunch of different types of ranunculus so that we can go through each one and kind of check them out, see what their growth characteristics are, see which ones are our favorites. Now, if you are new to the channel, you might not know this, but everybody else already knows that I am absolutely obsessed with ranunculus. Like, seriously, hands down, one of my favorite flowers that I grow. That's why I have so many of them, honestly. I wish that these things would just bloom all season long, but alas, they do not, unfortunately. But this year, I really wanted to focus on some of the fancier ranunculus, such as the ranunculus mixes that a lot of the for real farmers, flower farmers use, not just us people in our backyards growing stuff for fun, you know. But let's get on into this. There really are some really unique ones that I'm really excited to show you guys, and a couple of ones that really surprised me. You know, I usually try to order things that I might not like to see just how things go, and there were some definite surprises in this bunch. So I guess without further ado, let's get on into it. I know this was a long intro, but I just had so much extra flower footage of the ranunculus that I really wanted to show you guys, and I couldn't help myself. The first ranunculus that we have is called Chocolate. This was from Florida. It was the Florida Chocolate. Judging by how early it bloomed, it's probably Belle Chocolate. When I bought this chocolate ranunculus, I was really hoping that it would be kind of that rusty kind of brown color that is so often associated with the chocolate colored flowers. Unfortunately, mine were mostly red. A few of the blooms did have that kind of rusty color that was really nice and pretty. Of course, they're beautiful and double as well. I'm not disappointed. Next, we have another flower called Tecolote Salmon. I always mispronounce this. I call it Tecolote. Anyway, this one is more of a single variety. It's not completely single. There are some double petals and stuff in there. I believe that this one came from Longfield Gardens. I was intrigued by the color. And as you can see, it's a very nice range of color, just beautiful peachy salmon tones. With some of the flowers have more of an orangey kind of soft orange color, which was also very nice. They did open very quickly in the garden, especially with my warm temperatures. It was kind of hard to stay on top of things and to keep these picked. You can see a lot of them started to kind of drop their petals in my garden and everything. But these colors were just dreamy, and I kind of liked that they weren't fully double. They kind of gave it kind of an airy appearance to flower arrangements and kind of a different texture that I wasn't really expecting from them. So actually I'm very pleased with how these look. I would definitely grow this one again if the opportunity was given to me. Hopefully they will be offered again next year when I start making my ranunculus orders. Very nice companion to some of the other kind of peachy tones that we also had. This next one is the Belle Champagne. I believe that this mix came from Eden Brothers. I had a coupon code that I needed to use up. I've heard mixed reviews on Eden Brothers lately. I haven't ordered from there in quite a long time. But I am happy to say that at least these were true to type. They appear to be Belle Champagne, which I'm pleased to see. As always, the Belle Champagne ranunculus are extremely floriferous and very early. One of the earlier varieties here in my garden. Most of the colors that I received were this kind of orangey coral color. There were a few pinks in there which were really nice, but more so just consistent orange coral that you see here. You can see I let a lot of them open well past their prime just because I enjoy looking at the big fluffy double blooms so incredibly much, and we unfortunately haven't been able to do any kind of donations or anything this year, so it's kind of a bummer. I should also mention that I am showing you guys these flowers in the order that they open, so if you have any questions about timing or anything like that, I do try to show the flowers in the order that they opened. Just a very nice collection of these nice kind of soft pastel colors. I would definitely grow this one again. No question about it. I love ranunculus, so most of these I'm just going to say I would definitely grow this again. This is awesome. You know, I just can't fight it. I love them. The next one we have is called Marshmallow. This one is another one from Floret. Actually, Marshmallow Ranunculus were kind of hard to find this last year, and I think Floret was the only one that actually offered them. Marshmallow has long been one of my favorites. The blooms are just big and huge and fluffy, and some of them are ruffled. They're very, very double. They're intensely gorgeous. I just cannot say, they're huge. The flowers are huge. I just cannot say enough good things about Marshmallow Ranunculus. If you have the opportunity to grow this one, I definitely suggest it. They are just magical. The next one we have is called the Tiger Mix. This one also came from Floret. This is another one that I haven't found offered anywhere else. So I really do appreciate that she has those varieties available to regular people like us or me or whatever. This is one that I thought I would not like. I wasn't sure how I felt about it. I was just like, meh, you know, yellows, pink, whatever, it's fine. The green's kind of cool. But I was so pleasantly surprised by this one. This one is insane. It is so stinking cute. It's just so bright and vibrant. It's like springtime in a bucket. It's just springtime personified. I love those little green centers. All the little green centers are totally different from each flower to the next. Some of the flowers were more yellow with kind of a burgundy edging. Some of the flowers were more purple. Some were more pink. My favorites were the ones that were white and pink with the green center. I think those were my absolute favorites. But this mix is a winner. If I had the chance to grow this one again, 10 out of 10, absolutely. Way up there. One of my absolute favorite varieties of ranunculus, especially that I grew this year. Very, very pretty. So glad I got to grow it. Next, we have the Lemon Pastel Mix. This is the Amandine Lemon Pastel Mix. This is another very popular one, and reasonably you can see why. While the yellow flowers are fine, the yellow flowers are pretty and nice and everything. Don't get me wrong, but I think the real superstars in this mix are the peachy tones and those salmon tones. Look at that peachy salmon color. Oh, it is enchanting. If you saw last year's video with the Ranunculus tour, you know, these are kind of like the elegance, salmon elegance, the fancier ones that are more expensive, but these are gorgeous. They go with so many different colors, flower arrangements, and, you know, tulips and things. I wish that there was just a mix. It wouldn't be a mix. I wish there was just a pack of these salmon colored ones. They are my favorite. Don't get me wrong, the yellow ones are very pretty too. The yellow ones are a very soft yellow with kind of reddish orange edging that is very, very pretty. I tried my best to kind of zoom in here so that you could see the colors on the different kind of tones. Very beautiful. I love growing ranunculus. Can you tell? I am so passionate about growing spring flowers. They are my absolute favorite. Moving right along, I know we've got a lot to cover here in the garden, so let's move right along to the next one. The next ranunculus we have is called Super Greens Salmon. Now, these are supposed to be like a salmon color with the kind of green, weird interior, and unfortunately mine were more like a pink. Well, not unfortunately, I mean, I like the pink too, but for some of them were more salmon, some of them were more hot pink. I'm not sure if a couple of hot pink ones accidentally got in the mix or if there really is just a lot of color variation when it comes to these. Either way, I thought they were very, very pretty because, let's face it, a little bit of their actual appeal is that they are kind of like a little bit of a novelty flower. The blooms weren't very consistent, which I thought was unfortunate. Some of them were totally, completely green without any petals. Some of them were a little bit smaller, so I wish that there was a little bit more uniformity, but otherwise I'm not disappointed and I would probably grow them again as well. Next, we have another flower that I ordered from Floret. This is the Juliette Ranunculus. Now, I'd never grown Juliette Ranunculus before, but according to the website, it said it made huge flowers, and hello, you had me at huge flowers. The bigger, the better, if you ask me. And as you can see, zooming in on some of these flowers, they are enormously double, like stacked with petals if you let them open up. Bigger than the palm of my hand. true, just totally true to what I expected. Huge double petals. They are so gorgeous. But the thing is, you'll notice that they are very, very similar to the marshmallow variety that we already grew, which is kind of a bummer. I wish there would have been a little bit more color variation when comparing the two, but I'm not disappointed. I mean, I'm not going to be disappointed with even more pink flowers. I don't know if this has to do with weather. Maybe something about my weather made the colors very similar. Maybe something about my soil. You know, everything varies from one garden to the next, so it very well could just be environmental differences that has caused this to look so similar to the other ones. You'll see later some of the other pink ones also look very similar, so maybe it has to do with my warmer spring temperatures. Who knows? But definitely a very beautiful flower, and yeah, I'd grow this one again too. You know, at this point, there's really no question on whether or not I'd grow these again. I'm just going to say I would no matter what, I think. The next ranunculus we have is the Super Greens White. As you can tell, they are just kind of just like those salmon super greens that we already saw here in the video. But again, lack of consistency was the major disappointment with this. Some of these actually had like another flower coming out of the top of the flower, which was really confusing to me. I don't know how that worked or why or anything like that. I still think I would definitely grow super greens again. Their growth habit is so weird and inconsistent, but I kind of like it. Our next variety that we are going to take a look at here in the hoop house, we actually have a mix. This is just the Amandine Pastel mix. One of the main reasons that I ordered a mix was just to see kind of what variety would come of it. And mainly we got a lot of kind of light pinks and some pastel oranges that were very, very pretty and very nice. And I think this is definitely a good option for somebody who maybe wants to make minimal investment or has minimal space to begin kind of growing these fancier quote type of ranunculus for cut flowers and everything. You can see most of the colors of the Amandine series that I got were present, even though it's just a pastel mix. We have those beautiful kind of peachy tones from the pastel lemon and the yellow. So overall, I think the pastel mix was a very good choice. I probably wouldn't grow the pastel mix personally again, just because, you know, I prefer to grow the individual colors, you know, because it's easier to harvest for cut flowers and everything. But I think the pastel mix is definitely a good choice for somebody kind of looking to explore the ranunculus just a little bit, you know, a little bit more. The next one we have another pink one that is very, very pretty, but there are just so many pink flowers, it seems like, here in the yard. I don't know what to do. You can see that this pink flower is actually just a little bit darker than the Juliette and the Marshmallow pink, but still very much a light pink. This is Amandine Barby. I guess that's how you say it, B-R-B-Y. I don't know if they were going for Barbie, like, you know, a reference to Barbie, because these are very much a Barbie pink, like, you know, pink color. And again, I'm not going to complain about the pink color. I think it's one of my absolute favorites. They are just very kind of welcoming. I think these would be ideal in a lot of situations, especially like, you know, with Mother's Day or something like that. These flowers are enormous and huge. You see they are fully double. And one thing I really, really liked about Amandine Barbie here is that they had kind of like green centers. You see those kind of green centers in the middle, and I think those added just a little bit of extra depth that I was really into. And that's what I think about when I think about, you know, fancy ranunculus or beautiful huge double blooms and those really nice green centers. You can see here in the bucket there's the pink, the light pink with a darker pink. The darker pink is a different type that we'll get to here in a second, here when we finally move on to the next variety. I had a lot of pink with a lot of just very, very subtle variation in the colors this year. The next flower we have is Amandine Chamallow. I don't know how to say this, but oh my goodness, this is absolutely stunning. Now, I had trouble getting my hands on these. I only had about 20 corms that I planted kind of in a less than ideal spot in the hoop house, but these are gorgeous. These were a little bit smaller just because the soil was bad where I planted them. It's my fault, honestly. It'd be interesting to grow them again next year and see how different they look. But they are just the most pretty, softest pastel alluring, soft, I don't have any more adjectives, shade of pink, white, pinkish white. They are absolutely incredible. This is the kind of flower that I was absolutely looking for when I was, you know, looking to grow more pastel ranunculus. This is what I wanted in my garden. It is so beautiful. I cannot recommend this one enough. I'm sorry, I just am rambling, but it is very nice. Alright, so shifting my attention back to some of the other more common varieties that I've grown here in the hoop house, I did want to take a quick second to show you a mix that I grew. This is the Aviv Mix. Now, I've grown the Aviv Ranunculus in the past, and they are actually some of the ones that are most commonly available to gardeners on the different seed supplier websites. There are some very good qualities about Aviv. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say that they're not good. In general, the flowers seem to be a little bit smaller than these kind of fancier ones, and the flowers aren't as double. They still have, you know, pretty nice blooms overall, and they come in a very wide range of colors. Cost is pretty reasonable as well. I just ordered a mix to kind of just have in my garden, and you can see most of the mix were shades of reds and pink, a little bit of orange and a little bit of yellow, but overall very nice. Also, there are some very pretty Aviv ones. I definitely encourage you to check out that flower tour from last year. I'll put a link in the cards. Cafe, very pretty, lots of nice ones. So definitely one to check out if you haven't checked that one out already. Moving right back into our fancier kind of Amandine ones that are still blooming here in the garden. This next one is yet another pink that is very, very similar to the other pinks. I don't know how to distinguish between all of these different pink flowers. Luckily, I did label everything, but if I grow them again, now I know, you know, kind of which ones I want. This is the Amandine Rose. I grew Amandine Rose last year, and it was noticeably darker than the other Amandine Pink Ranunculus that I grew here in the yard. So I am pleased by that it's noticeably darker. I wouldn't call it a rose color. I'd probably more likely just call it dark pink. But again, you can check that other video if you want to see more footage of these. I always appreciate how tightly these petals are kind of in the bloom. They're always very, very tight blooms and very easy to harvest because they have such tight blooms, which is really, really nice. Again, another very beautiful kind of almost pastel one to go in a lot of different flower arrangements. The next one we have here, this is Amandine Pastel Pink Mix. I'm sorry, Amandine Pastel Pink Mix. This differs a little bit from the Amandine Pastel Mix that I already showed you guys, just because there's no shades of orange or yellow or anything like that. This mix is strictly different shades of pink. And in with those kind of different shades of pink, we also had a few really beautiful kind of peachy coral colors. So even though it's the pastel pink mix, we have the darker pink, the lighter pink, and this kind of beautiful salmon. We have the same big double blooms and everything like that. So again, another mix to consider if you're kind of exploring the idea of growing Amandine Ranunculus for the first time. I definitely was not disappointed with this selection. Very, very pretty indeed. The next flower that we have here in the hoop house, this is the Amandine Salmon. Now, I've grown Amandine Salmon before. I've also grown Belle Salmon last year. And this is very consistent with the results that I received last season as well. Rather than, you know, just being a kind of soft pastel color, they're pretty much bright orange. Again, I'm not quite sure if this has to do with my weather or just my soil or something like that, or if other people get different results. But for me, I'm starting to think salmon just means orange. At least when it comes to ranunculus. I'm not disappointed. These are stunners. They were bright. They're vibrant. They look like big orange roses. Absolutely gorgeous. Can't get enough of them. Very, very nice. Okay, so moving on. Once again, we have yet another pink one. Are you seeing the pattern of all these pink flowers developing here? The good news is that they did bloom at different times, so I'm not disappointed by that at all. This is the Amandine Pink. That's all it's called, Amandine Pink. It doesn't have any kind of fancy name or anything like that. And these are somewhere in between kind of Barbie and rose colored. So kind of a right in between pink. And as you can see, they were very double. These were a little bit more cone shaped and a little bit smaller. I'm not quite sure if that has to do with maybe my soil wasn't that great there. There is a low spot in the garden that I'm kind of had issues with in the past with the soil. So maybe that might have something to do with me rather than the actual size of the flower. But regardless, it's very, very pretty to say the least. Coming into bloom shortly after these was the Amandine cream. Now I had originally ordered the Amandine cream because I was hoping that it would be like a very soft kind of ivory color, like a subtle ivory color. But as it would turn out, Amandine cream, in my garden at least, actually turns out to be kind of a very bright pastel yellow. I'm not really getting down on it. I do think that's very, very pretty, and I'm not disappointed that it's a pastel yellow. The flowers are very double, the stems are very long and strong and beautiful, so definitely not a disappointment, but something to consider if you're looking for more of an ivory flower. You might end up with something that's pretty much just pastel yellow. So last but certainly not least in this garden tour, we have one last flower to show you guys, and this is the Super Greens or Brick Super Greens mix. It's not a mix, I don't know. Super Greens Brick. Much like the other Super Greens, the uniformity on these were all over the place, like totally off the wall. Some of them were very big and green, some of them were smaller and, you know, less green and more red. This red color is actually very pretty, and I'm surprised that I like it because usually I don't really like reds and everything, but it legit is the color of brick. So right on with you guys naming this one. You guys were right on cue with this one. That's really about it for this kind of tour of the ranunculus. Again, I do encourage you guys to check out the ranunculus tour from last year because there were a lot of different varieties, especially a lot of different Aviv varieties from the ranunculus tour last year that were very pretty and very interesting in their own right, and I definitely recommend checking those out. There are just so many options when it comes to ranunculus flowers and varying different price ranges. You know, this Amandine and Belle series are a little bit more expensive, but I think when you actually kind of look at the flowers and look at the results and kind of compare the price, you know, to what you actually are able to grow, I think it's very, very, very good option, especially if you're looking to make a little bit more of an investment with your garden. Overall, I was just so incredibly pleased with our ranunculus season this year, and hopefully next season we'll be able to grow some really beautiful ranunculus again. Hopefully all our donations and everything will be back up and running and totally back to normal, and we can kind of just keep on keeping on growing the garden and growing our backyard and, you know, growing our little YouTube channel and everything. I do appreciate you watching this so incredibly much, and it really, really helps if you watch the entire video, if you leave a comment, if you leave a like, if you share it. It helps so much. As always, you can check the links to all my social media and everything down in the description below. We'd absolutely love to have you following along there, just kind of growing our little flower community. As always, in the description there are links to the blog and everything else, and Patreon if you're interested in supporting the channel. Feel free to check that out. It's always greatly appreciated. I can always use that to kind of get help with editing and all kinds of different things, pay for blog fees, different things to keep the channel going. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so, so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope that you are having such an incredible day, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye, guys.